This right here is the Fuji X100VI. Now this might be the most hyped up camera in the history of all cameras, with over 500,000 pre-orders, breaking records. It seems like every type of creator is trying to get their hands on this thing right now. And even if you want to buy one, you're probably joining a wait list for weeks, if not months, to actually get this thing. And that's all pretty crazy to think about, considering this is essentially a glorified point and shoot camera. So is this camera actually worth all this hype? Like, why would you even want to buy this thing in the first place? That is exactly what I want to talk about in today's video. Let's get into it. Now, to understand the hype around the X100VI, you first have to understand the hype around the X100V, which is the camera that came right before this one. And as you can tell, they look pretty damn similar. So the X100V actually launched in early 2020, and it was popular, but nothing too crazy. And then over the last 2 years, different social platforms took a hold of this thing, and before you know it, it was impossible to get your hands on it. It was sold out everywhere. People are paying $500 to $1,000 over retail price just to get their hands on this thing, and it turned into straight madness. So let's break this camera down. Now, these camera bodies, they're essentially the same exact size, very small and compact. It makes it easy to take pretty much anywhere with you. You can easily have it over your shoulder, throw it in your backpack, maybe it's in your purse, wherever. It's very easy to take with you. I would say this has predominantly been used as a photo camera, and the photos you get out of this thing are amazing. And it has some really nice little quality of life features, such as being able to transfer images straight over to your phone. It has a built-in flash, which is even something that my Leica doesn't have. That is 4 times the price of this. It has a lens that goes all the way down to an f2, so it's great in low light, and it gives you some of that nice bokeh behind your subject. And one of my favorite parts about these Fuji cameras is you can add your own accessories to it to kind of give it your own customized look. As you can tell, I have a bunch of accessories on the 6 right here, which I'll walk you guys through here in a minute. But hands down, the reason why this camera became so popular is the fact that it has recipes. So chances are, if you're watching this video, you're probably familiar with something called Lightroom presets, right? A lot of different photographers out there have their own presets for photos. Even myself, I have my own presets that you guys can pick up. It'll be the first link down in the description if you want to pick them up for yourself. But it's essentially the different settings that I have to edit my photos. It kind of gives you a nice base and starting point when you add that preset to your own photo and get a certain look to it. Well, the thing about the Fuji cameras is they have something called recipes, which is essentially those baked in presets within your camera. And a lot of them are based off of different film simulations, which kind of gives you that nice vintage look on your photos, which we all know is super popular right now. I mean, even the camera body itself, right? They look pretty vintage, like a film camera, which is trendy right now, whether you like it or not. And having these baked in presets or these baked in recipes in these cameras makes it so most people actually just shoot JPEGs instead of RAWs. And I know that's crazy to say because, you know, I've been shooting professional photos now for like over 12 years and I always shoot RAW. But having these baked in recipes with this camera, you shoot these photos and what you shoot is what you get. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about these cameras. Now, all those things I just mentioned about the X100V, the X100VI has, as well as a few new features. They added in a new film simulation, which is always welcomed and it actually looks really good. They added in IBIS, which if you don't know what IBIS is, it helps out a ton with video, helping kind of keep out those jitters of having a handheld camera. It's super important in video, but it also helps out in photo as well, especially in low light situations. So maybe you're shooting photos at night or even indoors when you don't have a ton of light going on. It helps make those images sharp whenever you have your camera handheld. So that is a really welcomed feature and actually pretty incredible. They were able to fit IBIS into this small, tiny camera body. They also bumped up the megapixels from 26 to 40, which just gives you a sharper looking image, which also helps out if you want to crop in and do those types of things. Now, I haven't really used these cameras way too much for video, but it is a little bit more tempting now with this one. You are able to shoot 4K 10-bit color video out of this camera, which is pretty wild. It's actually like 6.2K oversampled down to 4K, which basically just means it's really good looking 4K video out of this camera. And of course, with the bump in specs and features, we go from the X100V was retailed at $1,400 to now the X100VI retails for $1,600. So a $200 price jump. I also have a feeling the demand of this camera had something to do with the price jump as well. I cannot get this camera straight today. Now, obviously specs always play a huge role in cameras, right? That kind of goes without saying, but here is the magic of the X100V and now the X100VI and why people reach for this camera or want this camera so badly. Let me break down exactly how I use this camera and how I think a lot of other people can relate to it. I am a content creator. I have right now like 4+ cameras. They all do different things, but the way I look at this camera is this is my everyday camera. Right now, I'm vlogging on the Sony FX3. That is my professional video camera. Really, that's my main workhorse workhorse for all things video. This right here, this is my point and shoot camera that I can take anywhere with me, get professional level photos out of it very easily. And that right there is the key part of it. This camera kind of falls in between like a professional photo for me and my iPhone. I take a ton of photos on my iPhone, I throw them in Lightroom, I slap a preset on them, and then post them on socials wherever. When I'm doing professional photo work, I would use something like the Sony a7 IV or another professional photo camera. This is the one that kind of falls in between all of those, and why I kind of consider it like just my everyday camera. This is a camera you can take everywhere with you. Maybe it's a weekend trip, maybe you're traveling, maybe you have friends in town. I know we've done this multiple times in the past year. Some of the homies come in town or we meet up in whatever city. We take a camera out with us to just snap some bangers when we're all hanging out. We all post them on socials, tag each other, get some content going. It's always a really fun time. We've done it with the Fuji cameras and we've done it with even my Leica Q2. But the difference is when I use this camera, I have some of those built-in recipes that I've customized to kind of make my own. And literally, you're out shooting, I have this camera in auto, you snap a photo, you can transfer it right over to your phone, upload it to your IG stories or wherever within seconds, and it already looks like an edited photo. And obviously when you're shooting JPEGs, there's a chance that things won't always be perfect, but that kind of gives you that fake feeling of film photos where it's not always gonna be perfect, but it does have that nice distinctive look. And that's kind of that feeling that a lot of people are chasing right now, and even myself. So that's exactly how I feel about this camera right now. When I'm going out, I wanna shoot some photos, maybe it's to post on social, maybe it's just for memories with friends. Like even last night, we went out for sushi with a group of friends. I took some photos at the bar that we were at with this camera, and it's just like good quality images that are for memories or for whatever you wanna do with the photos. And that's kind of how I look at it. If I want better images than just I would be taking with my phone, but then again, I also don't wanna take out a big bulky professional camera setup for photos. This is the perfect in between, and that's why I kind of consider this like the everyday type of camera. Now, speaking of everyday, let me share with you guys the accessories I've added to this camera, which again is one of the coolest parts about these Fuji cameras. Even very small minimal things and changes you can make to this just helps to make it feel like your own. Now, first up is the filter on here. This is the Polar Pro Short Stash Collab. I actually just recently dropped a full video talking about this filter on my channel, so definitely go check that out. But it is essentially a Pro Mist filter and also a circular polarizer combined into one. It is my favorite filter I've ever used. I'm a huge fan of a Pro Mist. It helps give that soft kind of vintage cinematic feel to your images, both video and photo. It smooths skins, it blooms the highlights, and again, it kind of adds into that fake film look that I'm looking for out of the images with this camera. It's called the Everyday Filter, which, you know, kind of goes in line with, I'm calling this, you know, my everyday camera. And it comes in that beautiful olive green color. That's gonna be living on my camera at pretty much all times, so I try to match the rest of the accessories to that. So I picked up this olive camera strap, a soft shutter button. I also added this thumb grip right here. And then I also added a screen protector because a lot of times this camera is gonna be out, not in a camera bag, just over my shoulder, wherever. So I'm trying to protect this thing as much as possible. And for anyone curious about my accessories, I'll have them all linked down below on my Amazon storefront. You gotta make it your own. Now, the important question, who should buy the Fuji X100VI? Is this thing worth the money? Is it worth trying to track down or joining a wait list? Or looking for resale? If you look at eBay and stuff like that, these are going for like $600+ over retail price, which is crazy right now. Or should you maybe just consider picking up the V instead, because they are still actually pretty similar, especially taking video specs aside. There's not a ton of differences between the two cameras. This is for sure one of the most hyped up cameras of all time. Probably a little too overhyped, but if I'm being very real with you guys, I actually think this camera is well worth the money. I think the V was well worth $1,400. I think the 6 is well worth $1,600. If you want the newest, latest, and greatest stuff, you really care about the specs, the megapixels, and maybe you plan to shoot some videos as well, I would definitely consider picking up the X100VI, or at least getting on that wait list. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, just pick up the V, the prices are gonna drop so much. As of right now, when I'm recording this video, even used X100Vs are going for more than the X100VIs are retail. So if you can find a steal on the V, I think you'd be plenty happy with this camera, especially if you're just going to be using it for photos, using it to post on socials, etc. This camera is amazing. But if the price of this starts rivaling the price of this one, join a wait list, try to track one one down at a local shop. This is just a fun camera to use. Even if you look through YouTube and look at everyone's videos, so many people are like, this camera just brought back my love for photography. And that's the beauty of it. You set some stuff up initially with this camera, throw this camera in auto, and then you can take it out with you and just document your life or different things going on and get some awesome looking photos out of it. It's easy to throw in your bag, have over your shoulder. This is a great second camera body to have in your camera bag if you're like me and you're a content creator. There's nothing more fun when you get together with a group of friends, you take some fire photos and you send it to them and you see that look on their face. That's what this camera is all about for me. It's capturing moments. It's capturing moments in a professional way with a unique look to them. Oh yeah, and the camera itself doesn't look too bad either. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful. If maybe you're in the market for the X100VI, be sure to stay tuned to my channel and all my socials because I'm gonna be using this thing all the time in the coming weeks and months. Let me know what questions you have about the X100VI in the comments down below. I will be getting back to everyone, but that's gonna be it for me. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace, guys.